Douglas, may I ask you a question? I feel like it's a very trivial question, and yet I'm not sure I've ever heard an answer to it from somebody who's actually from an English-speaking culture, like from the United States. I mean, if you ask a Russian person how they are doing, they will actually start answering the question. Problem is that this is not what people expect. Like, when you ask how are you, you are not expected to actually pour all of your emotions and concerns out. So when people say I'm fine and I'm okay, I feel it's not because they lack the words. I guess it goes both ways. Maybe it leads to lacking the words to describe the emotions, but it's also because there is a certain constraint of what's culturally appropriate to share. What are your thoughts on the origin of this tradition mechanism that, when asked how are you, you're supposed to say I'm good, I'm fine, I'm great, I'm okay, not so bad, like those are the appropriate range. What are your thoughts on it from the cultural perspective, why it's not okay to actually express the emotions as they are?
Well, so when people greet each other, there's a benefit to that greeting that might not be for the purpose of getting to know someone in depth. And so we create these systems that are how to do that. But the sad story is that often they're not deeply true. It's very interesting because I had resistance to this saying fine and all that. And I remember going to the grocery store and going through the checkout counter and the same person, how are you? And I started using a number system. Well, I'm a 6. I go, oh, that's a different answer, because I wanted to break through this superficial exchange of something that has no depth or meaning to it. And it's actually very heartening to think, well, some places we don't bother with that, and the question is actually a sincere question, and it should be asked when there's a time and a place for the real answer. Yes, and I would love, but yes, how do we go through that first greeting and meeting of each other? When we greet and meet each other, we've just decided that a hug is a good thing to do. We've all hugged each other this morning when we saw each other. I don't think our initial question was, tell me how you are, like in a depth way, but it was a way to say, yes, here we are, I see you, I'm glad to be with you. I think asking questions or talking about cultural differences is very important because while there is a universal truth, I think, and a lot of the inner life can be relatable, I think we also have these different variations on how we go about these things. And some lead us into a kind of superficial, everything's okay, when in fact it's not, So
everything is so in the face. And I believe that also in our society we don't see the benefits of silence. Just take your moment, like when I say how are you, and if you take 10 seconds to really think about, instead of automatically say hey fine, so it's more like this, oh yeah, actually how am I, and really trying to reflect and question yourself properly. And the same as the culture, like for example, I'm here for Vietnam because I was questioning my Vietnamese part. Say, what does that bring in my life? What was the positive thing? What was the negative things? And what do I decide? What do I choose to take? Because at the end of the day, I'm just human. The culture is influence, but it shouldn't define who you are. And then you get to choose also and have other example. I love the craziness of the Americans with the amazing and everything, I love the peace of another culture, for example, but yeah, you can be influenced. But yeah, my point is we don't take the time to be quiet. And this, for me, I love to be in silence because it's my way to connect back with my inner child and what I feel and who I am, so that, I can be aligned with myself and be okay for the world, I would say.